Welcome to the Play-by-Play with Patrick and Brandon, your home for updates and insights into the sports world.
All right, welcome back to the Play-by-Play. 3 weeks in a row, this makes it, I believe. We're really doing our best getting back to it. How are you doing today, Brandon?
Doing fantastic. Glad that we actually are sticking to it and getting an episode out per week. Ready to get into it.
Yeah, it's been a big week for sports, to say the least. I mean, I think there is one headliner that we're really going to jump into right away. And let me tell you, the streets of Boston, Massachusetts, it's code red, DEFCON 5, because
Oh boy.
like the worst case scenario that possibly could have happened did happen. So last week we talked about the ideal landing spots for LeBron James. Like if we were LeBron, where would we want to go?
Le
And
Cleveland, Le Miami.
there was one team in the running that I think we purposefully left out, because like even talking about this, manifesting it in the air is bad news for us. And it happened anyways. LeBron James is a 76er. He's teaming up with Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, the generator VJ Edgecombe, Anthony Simons. Um, it's about to be brutal. It's about to be brutal. First thoughts, the East is probably the strongest it's ever been in the history of the NBA's existence. I think that's pretty fair to say. It's the deepest it's ever been. There are a few teams that are absolutely stacked, which is really fun to see because, I mean, the West has dominated the NBA for, geez, I don't even know how long, since Michael Jordan retired, I guess, the first time, that is. So he chose the ring. He chose to try and get a ring over, the storybook ending. Because I know you talked about it last week, the idea of LeBron James going home to Cleveland, perfect storybook ending. We both talked about it and we both agreed not a good idea, not a good place for him to be. Because if you're LeBron James, you want to cement your legacy. All the people talking about this storybook ending, how he owes it to Cleveland, that's a load of malarkey. I,
Yeah, he doesn't know anything. I mean, the dude, he took a massive, and I mean massive, pay cut to go to Philly. He is, at this point in his career, he's over 40 years old. He does not have that many years left in the tank. He made the decision of, I want another ring, and I don't care how many ridiculously good players I have to have on my team to get there. Um, and now we have Le Philly, Le Sixers, which whenever I say that, I have to resist the urge to throw up in my mouth because Jaylen Brown and LeBron James are going to be teammates. And when they play the Celtics, if they beat us, my head is going to explode. I'm not going to take it well. It's going to be very, very bad. And I think best case scenario for the Sixers, they have the talent to win the whole thing. That's what makes me really sick in the stomach is LeBron James can fit anywhere on that lineup. You can have him playing power forward next to Embiid. You can have him running point and handling the ball and facilitating. He will fit wherever he has to in that roster. What I'm more worried about is they have a lot of guys on that team with high usage rates. They have a lot of guys on that team who want the ball in their hands. Maxey averaged 28 points last year, and Embiid's going to want the ball when he's healthy. Jaylen Brown, I love the guy. He always wants the ball. He always wants to take the shot. So they're going to have to work out the chemistry. They're going to have to figure out, all right, which one of us has to take a little bit of a back seat. Maybe that's all of them have to take a back seat to make it work. But on paper, that Sixers team is terrifying.
Yeah, there are still a lot of questions about their depth, and I mean that's fair. Like right now, the notable pieces on their bench are obviously Anthony Simons, who is a spark plug, but then after that, Dean Wade. So I mean, LeBron and D Wade are back together. That's pretty fun. That's pretty cool.
Mm,
But their
yeah.
roster is not deep. And how many games is a 42-year-old LeBron James playing? How many games is Joel Embiid playing? Like, it's a fair
Period.
question to
Yeah.
ask, considering those guys notoriously do not play very much during the regular season. In comparison to that, you have VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, and Jaylen Brown, who, unless they're getting injured, are playing 70 plus games. Those guys are workhorses. You're going to see them a lot. So the question is, how do you fill that lineup when LeBron James and Joel Embiid are not playing with that team? It's still scary. I think when you look at it talent-wise, obviously there are going to be questions about fit. There are questions about fit with any team that has that caliber of players. But in my mind, it's one of the greatest starting fives of all time, talent-wise. I mean, it's hard to think of teams above them. Obviously, the easy number one is going to be that Warriors team with Curry, Durant, Thompson, Draymond Green, DeMarcus Cousins. After that, who do you put ahead of them? I don't really know.
It's tough, and like you said, talent-wise, an absolutely disgusting starting five. I think in terms of injuries, the Sixers are going to have to be prepared for reality where they're in the middle of the season and Embiid has a lingering knee issue. LeBron's doing load management. You're going to have to figure out who's our backup center, who's going to be giving minutes when Embiid is out. And that being said, the East is going to be the most entertaining it's been in recent memory. If you're looking at the caliber and the quality of teams at the top, it's going to be a legit playoff race. There's not going to be one team beating up on everyone else. Like I know last couple of years, Celtics, Cavs, Knicks have been sort of at the top record wise. You could see the Knicks, Cavs, Celtics, Heat, Sixers, Pacers, all more or less around the same win total. So it will be interesting
Raptors,
to see if the Kawhi trade goes through,
that's true.
which it still hasn't. So I don't know what the investigators are doing down there in Los Angeles, or how much money Kawhi got through a semi-illegal endorsement deal. Figure that out. I would like to know if Kawhi Leonard's a Raptor personally. I'm sure Drake wants to know if Kawhi Leonard's a Raptor, so he can drop another album with Kawhi bars in it. But oh boy, as a Celtics fan, sick to my stomach. I'm seeing Jaylen Brown dap up LeBron after an alley oop is just going to hurt Boston in a way that they haven't been hurt before. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. There's a lot left to talk about with LeBron James. And as a matter of fact, the majority of our viewer questions for this episode are centered around LeBron James, realistically, to nobody's surprise. So
Makes
we're going to
sense.
jump into a few of those and then cap off the rest of them at the end of the episode. But I think we'll start right here from Max C. in Roseland, New Jersey. How do you guys feel about the 76ers fleecing you for Jaylen Brown and now also getting LeGoat?
All right, Max C from Roseland, New Jersey. How do I feel? How do we feel? Not good. Not good at all. I could go on and on about why we made the Jaylen Brown trade and all of the financial reasons, which I believe I covered in a previous episode. Long story short, not a fan of Sixth Street and Bill Chisholm's ownership group. That being said, I don't feel good. It's going to make me very upset seeing Jaylen Brown posterize some dude in a Sixers uniform. And now that LeBron's going to be tossing him that lob, it's going to be a billion times worse. So yeah, Max, that's my answer. Is I feel very bad, and every so often when I'm going through my day-to-day routine, I'll remember that Jaylen Brown and LeBron James are on the Sixers, and I'll just feel a very intense sort of pain in my chest because why? We won the championship 2 years ago, and now the Finals MVP is on the Sixers. God, it hurts.
Yeah, I think it's kind of brutal. I mean, this question is very obviously a personal attack, which is kind
Yeah,
of funny. We had guys calling in as Brandon's husband last week, and now all of a sudden we got
can we
dudes
just we can
trying
forget
to
that? We
bring
can
us
forget about that.
down off of that immense high that I'm sure you felt
No, not
after your
quite.
husband called in.
Not
But
really.
yeah, I mean, I am in the same boat as Brandon. I don't feel good about it. I don't think LeBron James would have taken Philadelphia seriously had they not had Jaylen Brown. I think it was very clearly his easiest path to a championship. We talked about the Timberwolves a lot. I think the Timberwolves would have been in the same tier. But to be quite frank, I would rather play with Joel Embiid than Rudy Gobert. I think Jaylen Brown has a better head on his shoulders than Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball. I think Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe are both like gritty, tough guys. Maxey made the All-Star leap. He's incredible. Yeah, it is tough. I don't feel great about it. I definitely feel better than this Max C guy does because I don't have to live in the armpit of the United States, have fun in New Jersey, but I still feel pretty bad.
Yeah, that question just that ticks me off. That ticks me off.
Yeah,
Do better. Do better, Max C from New Jersey. New Jersey produced Bruce Springsteen, and now the best you can do is giving me a crap question about the 76ers. Like,
tough,
man,
tough.
on to the next.
So our second question on LeBron James is from Le Truther, who is
Oh,
wherever
subtle.
LeBron goes. Sounds accurate. How does this affect LeBron's legacy?
That's actually as funny of a question as that is. It is a good question. It's one that's unlike the first one, worth answering. Um, it is interesting to look at LeBron at this point in his career. He has four rings. He got what, two in Miami, one in Cleveland, one in Los Angeles. The Sixers have been trying to get over the hump for what feels like easily over a decade now. The process has been processing, and so far it has resulted in no Eastern Conference Finals wins. So if you're LeBron James, getting this team over the hump, getting them to a finals, winning a finals, it would be huge. A fifth ring would be big for LeBron, proving that he can still be a championship level player at age 42, still being an elite contributor. It would be big for him. That being said, he joined a stacked roster again. He has a tendency, whenever he goes somewhere, he will not join a team that does not have elite talent on it. We saw that when he put together the big three in Miami. We saw that when he got Kyrie and Kevin Love on the Cavs. We saw that when he got Anthony Davis on the Lakers. He chose a roster that was ridiculously talented. So if he wins, if he wins a finals, which I think I'll still throw up either way. Um, if he does win a finals, there are going to be LeBron haters. I might be one of those LeBron haters who points out the fact that he's got one, two, three all-star teammates on that starting five. The LeBron versus Jordan debates will definitely spark up because they'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember the time that Jordan left and joined, you know, a top five shooting guard in the league, joined Maxey and Jalen Brown, and one of the best centers in the league. Joel Embiid, when he's healthy, is a top five, top three center in the league. Just won an MVP. He is joining a very, very stacked roster, and would not be surprised if legacy wise, people use that to sort of bite him in the butt and say, "Hey, LeBron, age 42, was shamelessly ring chasing, trying to join three All Stars on a starting five just to get a ring."
See, I don't necessarily disagree with anything you're saying, but I don't agree with what you're saying. So, in
Let's
my
hear it.
eyes, you hit the upside right on the head, right? LeBron James wins another ring, brings a ring to Philadelphia, a team that has been notoriously full of doom and despair. They haven't made it to a conference finals. They haven't won a conference finals in I don't even know how long. They've had this unbelievable drought. It's been brutal for them. So for LeBron to go there and win, even with this stacked roster, that's going to look great for LeBron. A fifth ring at 42, in my opinion, ends a lot of conversations. I'm notoriously critical of LeBron James, but this is the toughest era of basketball. So if he hypothetically goes and wins a fifth ring and performs well, it would be hard to talk about him in any other way than as the greatest basketball player of all time. Now, you talked a lot about the downside. And in my opinion, again, as critical as I've been in the past about LeBron James, I don't think there is a downside. So the one thing is he's 42, right? He made it very clear in this choice that he didn't want to just ride off into the sunset. He wants to go win another championship. This is very Tom Brady to the Buccaneers in my eyes. He wants to go compete. He wants to go win in the twilight years of his career. And he does only have 2 years left. He did announce this was the last decision. He's getting ready to wind down. But if they don't win, I don't think you can blame LeBron James for them not winning. They have Jalen Brown, who is an MVP candidate this year, finished top five in MVP voting, I believe. Probably realistically should have finished higher. You have Tyrese Maxey, young up and coming all star, a gun, plain and simple, high energy, high velocity, great scorer. You have Joel Embiid, who probably should be under incredible scrutiny now. I think he's been under incredible scrutiny for a long time, but he's gotten a lot of excuses for his health. Now, you're supposed to be an MVP caliber player, and you have the best roster in the league. There's nowhere else to hide. So I think there are all these places you can point besides LeBron James if it doesn't work. Like
I
again,
think
if
that's a good point. I honestly hadn't considered that as much as I probably should have. If he wins, everyone's gonna remember, oh, remember when LeBron won a fifth championship in Philly? If he loses, if they don't make it, when you look at LeBron, when you look at the Sixers, Sixers fans, Sixers legacy, Embiid, Jalen, those players will take the brunt of it. No one's going to look at LeBron's legacy and judge him just by that. They're going to remember the four finals wins. They're going to remember the MVPs. They're going to remember the chase down block. They're not going to, I don't think it's going to stick. I think LeBron fans will honestly just make it not stick, which whether it should or shouldn't, that's a different conversation. But LeBron being 42 and sort of, especially last season when he was on the Lakers, saying that he wanted to take a step back from offensive production and be a facilitator, let the offense roll through him, but let other guys take the scoring sort of priority. I think that'll set him up well to not be the number one burden for the blame if things do go south. Honestly, I think the player that would be most looked at would be Embiid because it is seen as his team. He has been on the team for almost a decade now, and if he has nothing to show for it after this season, they're gonna have some real tough conversations about him.
yeah, I think it is obviously Embiid and Brown under the spotlight. I think Embiid again, could his health hold him back? Maybe. And can you blame a guy for his health holding him back? Probably not. That's not a fair conversation to have. But if they're healthy, he's been an MVP, whether he deserved that MVP or not. He was an MVP. He is an MVP caliber player. Jaylen Brown is another MVP caliber player, or at least he had an MVP caliber season. He's trying to prove he can be the guy. There are a lot of ways to look before you look at a 42-year-old man.
Yeah,
And I think it's not fair to place, all the spotlight and scrutiny on him when that's not what happened to Tom Brady. Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers and that decision was like almost universally applauded. As many people hated Tom Brady while he was on the Patriots, there were not a lot of people that disliked Tom Brady on the Buccaneers, Tom Brady to the Buccaneers, because you
Tom.
see,
I mean, I was mad. I was like, "How could you leave me, Tom? Like we were boys. I like had your jersey, and now you want to go play in Tampa Bay with Mike Evans. Like, okay, sure. We had Mohamed Sanu and like Julian Edelman when he was like 39. Like that wasn't good enough for you, Tom. Thanks for leaving me and winning another Super Bowl. That's cool, I guess. But most people were. It definitely showed a different side to Tom Brady, so they enjoyed that. And Tom Brady won. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. Will be interesting to see if Braun can get a chip to Philly.
yeah,
Certainly would
I
help his legacy.
I think it is a fair comparison to make, Brady to LeBron. I mean, they're two of the guys you just talk about like that. But I think it's time for like, the LeBron James hate club to take a step back a little bit. And as a pretty prominent former member of that club, like I am a Boston fan. No Celtics fan likes LeBron James. We'll make that very clear. No Celtics fan should like LeBron James after, the rivalries in the past, after the way we battled. But it is kind of time to take that step back and just like appreciate pure talent while it's still on the floor. It's going to be hard to do for us specifically while he's in Philly, but
Yeah.
for the people in Boston and for everyone around the league, a little appreciation could go a long way right now. I think that's the way I look at it. I think, again, it is only upside for LeBron. He chose to try and win a ring over the Candyland ending in Cleveland where he can go die in a hole while he plays with James Harden.
45 and 37, here we come. No, thank you. No, and like the NFL has looked very different since Tom Brady retired. And I know a lot of NFL fans have felt that the NFL just doesn't hit the same when you don't have Tom Brady. You sort of a hate him while he's here, love him now that he's gone. Very, very realistically could be the same with LeBron James, where people hate watching him play and beat up on their favorite team while he's here. But then when he's gone from the league and there is no LeBron, you know, in the league anymore, it might just not hit the same.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot more to talk about as the season moves on for sure. I mean, there's definitely going to be a huge spotlight on that Sixers team all season. We'll be talking about them a lot more. But for now, I do think we switch gears a little bit because the MLB trade deadline is in less than a week. The one situation we've been monitoring the entire time, Tarek Skubal, still on the market. A rumored trade to the Dodgers was shut down.
Thank
The
goodness.
Braves and Rays sit atop. Excuse me. He's still linked to the Braves, Cubs, and Rays. I got a little too far ahead in my notes there. The Braves and Rays sit atop the standings in their divisions. The Cubs are firmly ensconced behind the Brewers, but still competitive. We'll see what happens with him. I don't want to say too much on that yet. Um, we've been talking about it a lot, so I'll keep it pretty low key on that for now. But I think the trade deadline is important to bring up because the first shots have been fired. And would you believe it or not, it was the Boston Red Sox.
Did not believe my eyes. Seeing the Red Sox try to bolster their roster at a trade deadline is not something that I'm used to. But overall, I think the trade is good. It is good for the Red Sox. It's good for the Nationals. The Nationals get a young pitcher with a lot of upside who's been playing pretty solid this season. We get a hot bat. We needed some hitting. We now have, Curtis Mead, who will be around the second best, batting average power bat on the team. That being said, I think the biggest issue people have with this is they liked the dynamic between Early and Peyton Tully. They were boys, had a lot of good vibes, good chemistry in the rotation there. So there is kind of like a damn hate to see the boys get broken up there, but overall a good trade from the Red Sox, who right now are second out of three in the wild card race. They're still a couple games behind the Yankees, but they're starting to open up a little bit of a gap between all the wild card sort of involved teams below them. Would love to see the Red Sox catch the Yankees, but probably not going to catch the Rays. So I imagine a wild card spot is the best the Red Sox can hope for. But good trade. Actually, weird to see the Red Sox make a trade that isn't terrible at the trade deadline and like try to make their roster better. So I don't know if John Henry took a vacation and that's why this happened, but hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say if I had a nickel for every time, the Red Sox may have started a season poorly and then started heating up towards the middle of the season post All-Star break, and we got to a trade deadline where we could have done something and didn't, and then floundered out, I would have a lot of nickels. I would
Yeah,
have a lot of nickels. And
too
so to
many.
see this, it does make me think maybe they're learning from their mistakes. It's hard to tell with,
I'm not gonna get my
that
hopes up.
yeah, with that Boston Red Sox front office that we trust so little. But this is very much so a win now move. And I think it's good to see the Red Sox make a win now move after, like, quite frankly, for so many past like trade deadlines and off seasons, we've been selling. We've been selling players. We have been trying to offload, free up some money for what? So to finally see something excuse me, that can only be viewed as positive in my eyes, is a great feeling, especially moving into a postseason where the team could potentially make some noise. Again, the American League is wide open. I do think if they're hot at the right time, they could make a good run. But that's really all I have to say on their end. Um, as far as the Nationals are going to be our team of the week this week. We talked about the Red Sox a couple weeks ago. We talked about the Milwaukee Brewers last week. The Nationals, I believe, are only one game out of the wild card right now. They have had a lot of pitching problems on that team. They've had some great bats and some horrible pitching. So them getting Connolly early is probably a good trade for them. He's a rookie with very solid potential, a 3.44 ERA, which is okay. It's not unbelievable, but it's not bad either by any means. It's a very
One of the
decent
better
ERA.
one of the better ones if you're looking at the Nationals rotation. So definitely fills a need for them.
Exactly. Their pitching staff has not been good. It has been carried by Foster Griffin, who has been electric, but one pitcher can only do so much, unfortunately. And, like I said, they gave up a good bat, but that has not been a problem at all with them. Uh, they've guys like James Wood, CJ Abrams, Luis Garcia Jr. So all around their bats have been hot. I think it really does fit a need for them. Do you think it's the right decision to try and make a trade right now, or do you think they're a team that's going to sink? is my question to you.
If you're the Nationals and you're looking at your roster and your situation where look where you sit in the standings, they're not. Do I think they're going to win anything that they like weren't going to beforehand with this trade? No. It's like not. You're not going to fix all of your problems by making one trade. That being said, you're not uncompetitive. You have some of the pieces that you might need for a good roster in there. And your biggest issue is pitching. You signed a pitcher who's good and who's also young. So it's not like you're getting someone like a 2 year rental and then they're going to retire. I think it's a good trade. I think it's a good trade for the Nationals. They are over .500. They it's tough to say. It's tough to say. Obviously, we'll see how it pans out. Still a lot of baseball season left to go, but I I'd hazard to say that this trade is beneficial for both teams.
I think I agree with you. Like in terms of Nationals, I know I said it already, but I do think it fills a need for them. And this is a trade that both helps them now, but will help them in the long run. Like this is by no means a desperation trade where you're taking a big risk. It's very safe while still improving their roster. Um, I think, obviously being such a young guy, he could be with that team for years to come. And when you're only one game out of the playoffs as of right now. Obviously, there's still a lot of baseball left to be played in the regular season. But when you're only one game off of the wild card and you want to see the playoffs, you want to get that ballpark filled. You want to get some playoff money. They have a great ballpark, by the way. I think it's a good move. Like you have a very noticeable hole. It's very easy to notice, even for guys like us, who don't get paid to go stare at the baseball statistics all day. So their front office sees what we see, because I mean, shit, even if we see it, it's going to be quite obvious. It's really an easy move for them to make. I do think it was smart all around. Um, Hopefully the Red Sox will stay hot as well, even with a little switch up. But that is really all I got on that, unless you got anything else.
No, let's keep it rolling.
I believe we also had some UFC this past weekend. I don't know if you want to get into that at all. Highly
So
underwhelming.
saying that I want to get into it is not entirely accurate. I am going to, and UFC Abu Dhabi main event originally was going to be Magomed Ankalaev versus Khalil Roundtree, which would have been more or less a title eliminator. Whoever wins that fight is going to get a title shot. That was the original plan. However, Khalil Roundtree gets injured, and they replace him short notice with Bogdan Guskov, who, to say that he wasn't very exciting to watch in this fight is an understatement. The card was okay. There were some mildly entertaining fights. There was a really good knockout. Steve Erceg, who I actually kind of like, got brutally chinned in the first round. So that hurt my feelings a little bit. But we get to the main event, and I'm like, all right, light heavyweights, Magomed Ankalaev, very talented striker. Bogdan Guskov on a big knockout streak. He's been an absolute beast. So I'm like, let's see these guys throw down. For the first three and a half, 4 rounds, it was one of the most boring fights I've ever watched in my life. I don't know how it's possible that Magomed Ankalaev makes throwing punches and kicks and elbows and knees look boring, but he does do it. To get not all his fault. Bogdan Guskov looked perfectly content to back up the entire fight and not throw any meaningful punches. That was like, all right, man, I get you took the fight on 2 weeks' notice and you don't want to get brutally knocked out, but at some point you have to engage and try to win the fight. It looked like he was fighting to not lose instead of fighting to win, which not a good strategy when the dude you're fighting is a 20-2 Russian kickboxer. Not a winning strategy. Ankalaev got the finish round 5 with ground and pound TKO. Even that looked kind of boring. Bogdan Guskov just kind of shelled up on the ground, didn't really offer much resistance. And in the aftermath of it, the biggest issue created is light heavyweight is a disaster. It is nothing short of a disaster right now. Alex Pereira moved up to heavyweight and got knocked out by Ciro Gane. No one has any idea what Pereira is going to do. If he's going to stay at heavyweight and fight Josh Hawkett, if he's going to move back down and try to get a title shot, I don't know what he's gonna do. Pereira seems content right now to just be chilling on a boat. Um,
I would
Carlos
be
Ul,
too.
yeah, Carlos Ulberg, the current champion, blew a ligament in his knee when he won the belt in the first round against Jerry Prohaska. Blows a ligament in his knee, somehow manages to knock Jerry out, wins the belt, is going to be out for probably a year. So he's not fighting for a while. Jerry Prohaska has gotten a billion title shots, and I love the guy. He hasn't won many of them. He lost two fights to Alex Pereira. He got brutally knocked out. He got brutally knocked out by Carl Zollberg. So he needs a couple of wins before we even think about him getting back in title contention. Ankalaev, if you look at his record, should probably get the next title shot. He has a win over Alex Pereira. He lost the second fight to Pereira. And then he goes and beats Guskov dominantly. It's like, oh, this guy should fight for a title. He's boring. The UFC does not like boring fighters. They want people that will make them money. No one, and I mean no one, outside of UFC diehards is going to be hyped for Carlos Ulberg versus Magomed Ankalaev. No one's going to care. And that leaves Khalil Roundtree, who, to be quite frank, also needs a win before he gets a shot at the belt. And my personal favorite fighter in the division, Paulo Costa, former middleweight, moves up to light heavyweight, gets a couple of really nice wins over some really good contenders. I'll give you my matchmaking ideas. I would make Ankalaev fight Jiri Prohaska because Prohaska is an exciting fighter who's incapable of being boring, and he will make Ankalaev actually fight him. And then you match up Roundtree and Paulo Costa because both of those guys are exciting. They both like to stand and throw, and they both need another win before they look at a belt. You see how those fights play out, then you start to reshape the title picture. But it is a utter mess. And it really, as much as it pains me to say this, it makes you appreciate the dominance of guys like Daniel Cormier and John Jones, who ran that division for the better part of a decade. Because ever since they've retired and left the division, it has been an absolute shit show. The belt gets tossed around and handed over and vacated and stripped like every other day. It it is a mess. It is a mess, and I just want to see some exciting fights at the top, and I did not see that last weekend. So I don't know if you have anything to say on that, but I can't talk about that anymore. My head's going to explode.
I do think you hit it right on the head. I mean, light heavyweight has been very disappointing for a long time. When you hear about people talk about the exciting divisions in the UFC, it's never been light heavyweight in a long time. I think it's very interesting because usually, especially in boxing, but I think in martial arts in general, usually the higher weight classes are going to be the marquee. And I think in the UFC very recently, light heavyweight and heavyweight have not been at their best. I think heavyweight has been spotty, but definitely better than light heavyweight. And light heavyweight's just clearly been, kind of anchor for the UFC to have to deal with. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I like the ideas you brought up. I think it's just going to be interesting to see because how long do they want to keep that belt undefended if none of these guys deserve it? So that'll definitely be very interesting to look at. I mean, they've shown in the past they have no problems with leaving belts undefended for a little bit. There have been some serious gaps for some of these titles.
Well, the idea or the possible route out of this is to have a fight for an interim title, an interim belt, which we will get into more about interim belts later in this episode. But to be quite honest, I don't want to see an interim belt. Just make it a number one contenders fight. The interim belts do nothing but cause headaches. We saw that with John Jones and Tom Aspinall. Um, if it was up to me, I would not make an interim title fight, but the
Yeah,
UFC doesn't know what I think and they don't care, so they probably will.
they're nothing but problematic. Funnily enough, we have another interim belt to talk about later, so there will be more on that. And you know what? Speaking of which, I do think that is a very good um, place to kind of turn the page on the UFC and talk some WWE, which we haven't done since we've returned. So this will be our first little WWE segment in just about a year.
For
Very
all my
exciting, in
Cody,
my opinion.
for all my Cody crybabies, we back. We back. We're back on the WWE for a little SummerSlam action. What do we got for a lineup here?
So Two-night SummerSlam event. I believe the second two-night SummerSlam event in the event's tenure. I could be wrong, but at least, the second consecutive one. WrestleMania has been two nights for a very long time now, and they've been, you know, making a killing off of two nights of way too expensive WrestleMania tickets. So why not do it with their second biggest
Damn.
event of the year, the biggest party of the summer, as they call it? A lot of big matches. So night one, I believe the promoted first match of the night is going to be up and comers Fatal Influence, which is JC Jane, Laney Reed, and Fallon Henley. Laney Reed and Fallon Henley currently being the women's tag team champs versus Legends being the Bella Twins and Paige. It's very much a clash of generations. You got new up and comers, freshly promoted from NXT, kind of taking over in Fatal Influence, and then Legends of the Game very responsible for the women's revolution, moving away from the Divas era, being the Bella Twins and Paige. Um, my personal prediction, I don't know if you have a different opinion, but they're setting up something for either one of the Bella Twins to fight Paige or the Bella Twins fighting each other. In my opinion, I don't think they walk away and retire, which they said they're doing by the end of next year, without fighting each other, being Nikki and Brie. And Fatal Influence has been very dominant since they came to the main roster. I don't think you'd kill that momentum at their first huge pay-per-view, especially after they just won the tag team belts. So I personally think Fatal Influence is going to win. I don't know if you have a different opinion.
I think that makes sense, especially if they're freshly up from NXT. Want to keep the momentum, want to build them up, make them look cool. As long as the Bella Twins don't pull a that doesn't work for me, brother, and Hulk Hogan their way out of this, I think Fatal Influence is gonna get the bump, look cool, get a win here. Would be cool to see some further storytelling between those two groups.
I agree. You could tell me the Bella Twins and Paige were winning, and I wouldn't be surprised. It is SummerSlam. They are legends, especially if it's a first match of the night. You want something fun to draw people in. I could definitely see that, but I don't think that's the right choice, especially, with Fatal Influence being so new and the momentum only swinging upwards so far. I think it would be a very bad idea, especially because the state of the WWE women's division right now in the last couple of years has been better than it's been in a long time. You have a lot of stars in that women's division, but one thing it has lacked is, certified tag teams that aren't just, two stars thrown together for a little bit and certified stables, which stables and tag teams kind of go together. But you have a great tag team in Laney Reed and Fallon Henley, and you have a great leader in JC Jane, who also is an incredible mouthpiece. She's quite the talker for that team. She can also wrestle. She is their single star right now. She came up, I believe, two NXT championship reigns. So I do think it would be a shame to see them lose here. Um, but yeah, that's really all I got on that one. Following that, we have the Usos and Jacob Fatu. So the goons of the bloodline, Roman Reigns' little peons versus LA Knight, yeah, Royce Keys,
Yeah.
and new babyface Solo Sikoa.
So bold prediction, banger alert. This matchup has banger written all over it. As someone who's not typically a fan of the Usos, Jacob Fatu is an absolute tank, absolute beast, physical presence in the ring. Solo Sikoa, who I have been a vocal critic of for the past 3 or 4 years, I'm kind of loving this babyface turn. I'm kind of loving it. He's got a fun personality. He's got the mic skills. Um, LA Knight. I just want to give a shout out to my boy Rocco, who's been an LA Knight guy for the past like 4 or 5 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love LA Knight. I'm excited to see this one. Not sure who's gonna win though. Would if not a betting man. If I was, I would not go anywhere near this one.
yeah, I really could see this going either way. I think a majority of those gentlemen are in a place where even if they lose this match, it's not going to hurt them. Like you said, this match is going to be super fun. A lot of question marks in this match. The Usos and LA Knight both have long been questioned for their actual in-ring capabilities. And I can't really deny that they've been questionable at times, but You can't tell me this match isn't going to be fun. Jey Uso is a moment maker. Jimmy Uso is one of the funniest guys on the roster. Jacob Fatu is an animal. He can wrestle. LA Knight is a moment maker. Royce Keys, new powerhouse. And Solo Sikoa, for my money, is probably the funniest guy on the roster. I think we saw, even when he was a heel, there were moments where he would be mocking people or just doing impressions. And it was hilarious. Now that they're actually letting Solo like take full advantage of his charisma as a babyface, he's been very fun. If I had to take a guess, I'd say you got LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Solo Sikoa winning this. I think with how new Royce Keys is and how dominant the WWE wants him to appear, it would be kind of silly for them to lose this match. But again, storyline wise, it really could go either way. That one is tough to predict. I am excited for it though.
I'm rocking with LA Knight. That's the boy right there. Let's see Solo go out there, kick some ass, make the Usos run for their lives. Hopefully, no bloodline tomfoolery and interference. One of the things that used to drive me crazy is whenever I would watch the bloodline or Roman Reigns wrestle, Solo Sikoa would show up in that damn hoodie and like mess it up. Now that all these guys are fighting, maybe we won't see any of that. But yeah, that I'm excited. That's one that I'll want to watch.
Yeah, definitely off to a fun start. Two great bigger matches at the start of this. And then after that, we have probably what I predict to be the most one-sided match of the whole event. We have the ring general Gunther versus the SmackDown general manager, Nick Aldis.
What? What?
No discredit to Nick Aldis. I
What?
think he
What are
can
we
cut,
doing?
yeah, he can cut one heck of a promo. He was an NWA world champion back in the day. He actually can wrestle. Technically, he is a very good wrestler, but like when you look at the story the WWE is trying to tell and the fact that this guy's a GM and Gunther is the guy that ended the careers of Goldberg, John Cena, and AJ Styles, Gunther is going to kill this man on live television.
And as someone who is a vocal Gunther critic, I think Gunther is mid. Um, he's gonna he's gonna beat the crap out of him. He's gonna walk around and slam him and chop him to death, and I'm gonna feel bad. But yeah, what maybe he has something up his sleeve. Maybe since he's a GM, he calls someone into the ring to fight for him. We see some tomfoolery with that, but in a straight up match, Gunther is gonna put belt to ass. It's gonna get ugly. Um, why? Why is this? Why are they doing this? Would love to know
Gunther
what the angle is here.
Gunther blames Nick Aldis for like a lot of his recent problems and not being able to acquire the undisputed WWE championship, his run-ins with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. Um that's what it is storyline wise. I think, when you look at it outside of the WWE sphere, outside of their storytelling, Nick Aldis has been very vocal about not wanting his wrestling career to be over, his in-ring wrestling career. And I think he's earned it. While he's been the GM of SmackDown, he's been one of the most compelling characters on the show without lacing up the boots, period. He's an incredible talker on the mic. He's still got the physical presence to wrestle. So I think he's definitely earned the chance to get back into the ring, which is what he said he wants to do. Is he going to win? No. But he's going to get back in there on a bigger stage than he's ever been on. So I'm happy for him. But he is going to get murdered at the end of the day.
Pain.
Following that, we have the women's world champion, Liv Morgan, versus Queen of the Ring winner, Io Sky, for the women's world championship. And I'll make this one pretty quick. If you watched our show at all before we took our hiatus, I've been a very vocal Io Sky supporter. And I don't dislike Liv Morgan. I think Liv Morgan's very talented. She's very good at her job. But plain and simple, she's kind of gotten screwed. Her reign has been ruined. I don't think she's defended her title since she won it at WrestleMania, which is pretty embarrassing, plain and simple. The fact that she's one of the flagship champions of the brand and you can't book a good storyline for her. She was supposed to feud with Stephanie Vicaire before she got injured, but the fact that the company can't pivot and kind of takes that away is embarrassing. So I think it's time for something fresh. The Liv Morgan reign just hasn't worked. Rebuild her, maybe give her something fresh and let her get another chance. But for right now, I think it's time for something new. Io Sky is the workhorse of that division. She is the best wrestler in the WWE women's division. In my opinion, probably the best wrestler in the world in terms of in-ring style, in-ring skill, presence, all of that. She's incredible. I want to see it. I think it's what should happen. I don't know if you have a different opinion.
No, I think that makes sense, especially if the storyline with the current champion is as stale and just sort of stagnant as you've described. Definitely looking to get a reset. Still a big name, so putting Io Sky up against her in a big event like SummerSlam will be good for some visibility, get some eyes on the championship, and get a new face in there. Get someone who maybe you can get a better storyline for, and then, like you said, Liv Morgan can, without the belt, hopefully get some better fights booked and get something going there.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough spot for Liv Morgan because as many times as they've tried to revitalize the Judgment Day, at the end of the day, it's probably time for the Judgment Day to go. There are no original members of the Judgment Day left. The original flagship was Rhea Ripley, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest, and they're all gone. Dominic Mysterio is now the longest tenured member of the Judgment Day, and even then, he's split very 50-50 between WWE's flagships and SmackDown and Raw, and then AAA. So it's really a tough spot for them to be in right now. I think you know having all of those characters take a step away from the Judgment Day and letting them be fresh again would be a great choice. But I don't see that happening. I just think Liv Morgan needs something different. And I mean, again, there's never a time that Io Sky is realistically not going to deserve a championship with how much work she puts in for the division, for the company. But following that, we have a barn burner in Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi inside Hell in a Cell. The first time we'll be seeing Hell in a Cell since I believe CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre last year. And
Oh
then
wow,
before that, it would have been Edge versus the Demon Finn Balor at WrestleMania quite a few years ago. So, they save it for very big moments. This is perceived to be Brock Lesnar's retirement match in his hometown. He is a Minnesota guy. So they're letting him end it in Minneapolis. Very storybook for him. With that being said, pretty much every professional wrestler goes out on their back. It's tradition to go out putting the other guy over. And Obafemi's been on fire since coming up to the main roster. I think he's destroying Brock Lesnar in this one.
he's a beast. I mean, Obafemi is, in my eyes, the biggest physical in-ring presence in the company right now. Uh, Absolutely massive. Whenever he wrestles, you can feel like, I have to imagine getting slammed from Obafemi would feel like he's throwing you through the ground. He's a beast. Obviously, Brock Lesnar on his way out. I don't see him Hulk Hoganing here. I don't see him like screwing Obafemi over. They've had a really good sort of rivalry going. Seeing Brock has been willing to put Obafemi over and make him look powerful and make all that in ring work so good. Obafemi will get the win. It will be an absolute banger, barn burner, like you said. Excited for that one. Just two absolute tanks going at it in Hell in a Cell. And like you said, last two times they busted out the Hell in a Cell, I mean, Punk McIntyre was exceptional. That was a phenomenal match. Um, Edge and the Demon Finn Balor. I love Edge. That's my guy. Um, Excited for this one.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be fun. Obafemi, one of the youngest, fastest riding stars in the business. He is realistically one of the most complete stars they have, in my opinion, right now as well. He's got this super dominant look and presence. He's very smooth inside the ring, and he can talk. He can talk very well. He can cut a promo like no one else right now. So, they're setting him up to be one of the next superstars of the business, and Brock Lesnar's on his way out. It just makes perfect sense. Following that, we have the main event of night one, which is going to be for the undisputed WWE Championship. It will see undisputed WWE champion, CM Punk taking on Cody Rhodes. I don't know what happens here. CM Punk very recently took the belt off of Sami Zayn, and it was interesting because no one really liked Sami Zayn winning the belt. Sami Zayn, from my perspective, is one of the biggest complainers in the business. He's always been a workhorse, but he's complained for almost everything he's gotten very publicly. He's taken away incredible opportunities from other guys. He ruined Chad Gable's Intercontinental Championship story a couple years ago, which was story of the year. They had match of the year in Chad Gable versus Gunther, and Sami Zayn very much so took away that spot from him. So I've never been very high on Sami Zayn, and I think the people agreed with me when he won the belt. With that being said, CM Punk, in the biggest hypocritical move of all time, comes back out of hiatus after WrestleMania. He hadn't been seen since, I believe, WrestleMania, and takes the belt away from Sami Zayn in an open challenge after one night. Who notoriously was always the guy that said, you got to earn it, you got to work for it, you got to be there. So CM Punk kind of betraying himself to win the championship versus Cody Rhodes, who has probably also been very oversaturated in the last couple years. I think for a good reason. He is the next John Cena of the WWE. He's very marketable. A lot of the younger fans love Cody Rhodes, but it puts him in a tough spot because you have two guys that are sort of leaning on controversy. So who's going to win? I don't really know. I don't know if you have a prediction for that one.
I'm gonna irritate all the Cody crybabies out there. I don't really want to see Cody get the belt again. As much as I think CM Punk is being pretty hypocritical with the whole "you got to earn it," except for when you're CM Punk and you want to take like a couple of months off and then come back and win the belt. That's not great. That being said, Cody's already had the belt a couple of different stretches now. I feel like he's always in the title picture. I don't really see why he needs the belt again right now. So if I had to guess, I would say Punk would win it. If we're going based purely off the entrance music, as good as the American Nightmares music is, I'm rocking with the Cult of Personality on that one. It's a sick song. So I'm gonna guess Punk wins this. Although to be fair, with you on this one for being honestly not sure on how it's gonna go.
Yeah. Truthfully, if I'm being 100% honest, the most exciting thing about this undisputed WWE Championship match for me is who's going to be coming after it following this match. And that takes us perfectly into night two with the first match I want to talk about. It's going to be Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn in a number one contenders match. Now,
Bruh.
you've heard really all I want to say about Sami Zayn tonight, but this one's very near and dear to my heart. Finn Balor has earned this like nobody's business. Finn Balor had plagued one of the unluckiest WWE superstars of all time. When he won his first world championship 10 years ago, he hurt his shoulder and hasn't been able to really get back to where he needs to be since. But he's put in all the work. He did a second run in NXT, which was incredible. He had a U.S. championship run, a workhorse run, which was incredible. He joined the Judgment Day. His time with the Judgment Day was incredible. His feud with Edge, his feud with Seth Rollins. Finn Balor's always been great. And so now coming back off this, he's finally a babyface again. I believe he turned babyface right around the time that WWE went to Ireland last year. And that reaction really kind of lit a spark in Finn Balor, in the WWE storytellers, to sort of give Finn Balor his iconic babyface presence back. And with the time they've taken to build him up into this, I need to see Finn Balor beat Sami Zayn at SummerSlam, and I need to see him move on to beat either Cody Rhodes or CM Punk, whoever it is, for the undisputed WWE Championship. I, I said it already, but no one deserves it like Finn Balor. So I don't know if you have a different prediction for that match. I doubt you do, given our disposition on Sami Zayn, but
No, I said about Gunther, I've been a vocal critic of Sami Zayn for a couple years now. I think for a guy that bills himself as the ultimate underdog, he just like wins all the time when he really shouldn't, and it drives me insane. Finn Balor, I think you put that about as good as you could have. Deserves this fight, deserves the opportunity. What a dog. Would love to see him beat up on Sami Zayn and get a shot at the belt.
well said. I think That's one of the matches I'm most excited for because I really want to see Finn Balor get it done. The other match I'm most excited for, another guy that deserves the world. We have Chad Gable challenging
Oh yeah,
Penta for the
Chatty Daddy,
Intercontinental Championship. And
let's go.
no smoke to Penta, right? Penta's incredible. Penta's been incredible. He's a workhorse. He's fun. He's got a good look. He's got a good presence. But Chad Gable deserves it all. The work he's put in, he had one of the most like unbelievable natural babyface come ups ever. He was feuding with Gunther a couple years ago, and as a person who for a long time considered Gunther boring, he made Gunther more interesting than he's ever been. And simultaneously, Chad Gable was the most compelling character in WWE during this time. I believe this was before WrestleMania 40, the one in Philadelphia, the big one where Cody Rhodes finally got it done against Roman. So he feuds with Gunther all year, and they're finally leading up to WrestleMania. And you think, dang, after all of his hard work, maybe Chad Gable's finally going to get it done. And then Sami Zayn takes his spot because he was complaining.
You, you,
So
gross.
off of that, they have Chad Gable make the weirdest heel turn of all time and form this new faction. And Chad Gable somehow made it work. It was still fun. The rest of his faction, truthfully, very lackluster. But Chad Gable himself was still fun. And they put him in this weird story with luchadors where he himself puts on the mask because of how much he hates luchadors and turns into the original El Grande Americano. And a gimmick that never should have worked became the most compelling story across all the WWE universe. You
Oh,
know,
that
the
was
original.
funny. Saying where's how dare El Grande Americano take the place of Chad Gable? Chad Gable deserved this fight, and El Grande Americano has taken everything he's worked for. Those jokes were hitting. They were funny. He's That's just a testament to how fun he is to watch, how good he is on a mic. He's just a talented wrestler. Um, really, really would like to see him get a belt here. For all the Chad Gable fans out there,
Yeah,
let's get it, man. And
he's
like you said,
back.
no shade to Penta.
He's back as a new man. He's a babyface again, following the barn burner in AAA that was the original El Grande Americano versus now the real El Grande Americano. That probably doesn't make a lot of sense for people that are listening that are not in the wrestling
Ugh.
world, but trust me, it was incredible.
Might take a little Wikipedia skim to figure that one out.
So you have a revitalized Chad Gable coming back. It's a homecoming. You know, hometown hero, United States Olympian Chad Gable returning to Minnesota to hopefully finally get it done and earn that singles belt. There's nothing else I have to say about that. Chad Gable to the moon.
Let's go.
Following that, we have United States champion Trick Williams defending his belt against a newly returning Baron Corbin, which I don't think anyone expected a Baron Corbin return in 2026, nor
Not
did
me.
I do I think anyone expected a Baron Corbin championship push in 2026. And I do thoroughly enjoy Corbin. My favorite WWE event I've ever been to, one of the few I've ever been to, was NXT Deadline in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where Corbin had a great match. I think he's fun. I think he's very underrated. The End of Days is a great finisher, but I don't think I see anyone beating Trick Williams except for Carmelo Hayes. That's the story that they've been building. They basically inserted Corbin into this storyline to get people behind Carmelo Hayes, and Trick Williams has been on fire ever since he came to SmackDown. So I really think this is a placeholder, which I hate to say because I do like Corbin, but I got Trick in that one.
Whoop that Trick. I'm rocking with Trick Williams in this one too. I just see more potential storylines coming from him winning. Um, what do we got? What do we got next?
We have Danhausen, undefeated by the way. Danhausen's like 16-0 since his WWE debut versus Dominic Mysterio. And I'll
Oh
keep this
yeah,
one short. Danhausen's not losing. He's not
I
losing.
can't I can't see them having Dom win because I mean Dominic Mysterio got to be one of the most fun to hate guys
Yeah.
they have on the roster right now. I mean, he's one of the only guys I've seen turn heel while already being a heel. Um, for anyone who doesn't know, when he was in the Judgment Day with Rhea Ripley, and then he turns and gets with Liv Morgan. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays like the sleazeball like wuss so well, and he's like a talented wrestler. Like he'll make it fun. It'll be a fun match to watch, but I don't see them taking away Danhausen's undefeated record to have Dom win.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Following that, we have the interim women's WWE Championship ladder match. So Rhea
What?
Ripley, yeah, I'll say this now. We can talk about this now. The state of both the WWE Women's Championships has been horrible since WrestleMania. No discredit to either of the wrestlers that have held them. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan are both great, but Liv Morgan has been healthy and hasn't been wrestling, and Rhea Ripley was not wrestling and then got hurt. So their solution to this is what I think is the first ever, at least the first in a long time, interim belt. So there will be, I believe, 6 competitors in this ladder match, and they'll compete for an interim belt, which Rhea Ripley will then either get back or they'll fight for it when Rhea Ripley returns. And we talked about this before, and we'll talk about it more here now. Interim belts are nothing but problems. Because one, how do you count it on somebody's record? Like, are they a legitimate champion? Like, it's bad for the books. It's a hard task to talk about because how do you get someone to really buy into an interim belt, especially when the actual belt has been uninteresting to date? It's just a bad idea. I think realistically, the way to do it would have been have Rhea Ripley vacate and then just have her be the number one contender when she comes back. Because every champion in WWE that loses the belt, for the most part, is always entitled to a rematch. So you have the easy story right there. You have an easy way for your superstar and Rhea Ripley to buy back in. I think it's a problem. Regardless, I think it'll be a fun match. You have a ladder match with this many talented wrestlers. It's going to be fun. But with that being said, the competitors as of now are Charlotte Flair, Jade Cargill, Chelsea Green, Women's United States Champion Tiffany Stratton, and then one unannounced competitor that I believe will either be announced on this Monday Night Raw or next Friday Night SmackDown, or could be a returning legend for all I know. We're recording this on Monday and it's releasing on Wednesday. So if someone gets announced on Raw, obviously we won't know. You got any predictions for this one, Brandon?
Uh, in terms of predictions, I have no idea who's going to win this. Just from the fact that it is a ladder match and there's so many names involved, I mean, I don't know how they're going to do this. What I will say about the match itself and then like the implications of whoever wins, a ladder match with all these talented wrestlers is great. That's sick. Ladder matches are pretty cool and they usually open up some sick moves, fun to watch. Interim belts are a problem. And they're a problem enough in the UFC where if you have a champ that's injured out for a long time, you want to have the division keep moving. You have the issue of reunification. You have issues of champs not wanting to fight the person with the interim belt and they want to pick their next opponent or whatnot. That's in the UFC where you have like a ranking system and top contenders. In the WWE, I don't see story wise why you would do an interim belt. Why would you not just cut a backstage promo where one of these people rips the WWE championship off of whoever has it and then you put that on the line? Why don't you do that? That would make so much more sense, and you wouldn't have to deal with any of the bull crap that follows with unifying the interim belt and the undisputed one. I don't get it. I don't get it from a storytelling perspective, and just a dodgy decision that I think will mess with, not overshadow, but mess with what is on paper a very compelling and good matchup.
Yeah, you said it very well. I mean, I think in the past too, they've had champions vacate. I believe the most recent one that comes to memory is Becky Lynch vacating when she announced her pregnancy. Before that, I know Finn Balor had to vacate when he hurt his shoulder. Roman Reigns had to vacate a championship when he had leukemia. So it's a thing that's been done before, and I don't see why they just go back to that. With that being said, if I had to pick a winner, I think I'm going with Charlotte Flair. They have been building a story between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley prior to Rhea's injury, so I think it makes the most sense. Charlotte Flair is probably also still the biggest star in this match. I mean, she is the most decorated women's wrestler of all time, whether you like her or not. So I don't think it's a bad idea. But I do think making it an interim belt puts a stain on the match. But following that, we have the main event of the night. We have uh, World Heavyweight Champion Roman Reigns versus his former brother in arms, Seth freaking Rollins.
Oh yeah. Oh, let's go. That's a good match. Absolute cinema. If there ever was a right time to use that phrase, that is a marquee matchup if I've seen one. I mean, Seth Rollins has been a company man, an absolute workhorse, and one of the best in-ring wrestlers in the company. Roman Reigns, one of the biggest names in the WWE over the past decade. Obviously, you've got all the bad blood and the Shield stuff between those guys. I'm excited to watch that one.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting, and I'm very excited because most of the time in wrestling, you know who's gonna win a match. I have truly no idea who's gonna win this. Uh, Based on the build-up, it seems kind of clear that they're setting up Roman Reigns to have a long championship, at least till next WrestleMania. Next WrestleMania is going to Saudi Arabia. It would not shock me if they had Roman Reigns fight The Rock. If anyone's getting the Rock to come back to wrestling, it is that Saudi Arabia money.
Oh boy.
And Roman is just like for so long been that guy in the WWE. A lot of people will say it's Cody Rhodes, but the face of the company for a very long time has been Roman. Even when he hasn't wrestled a ton, even when he hasn't been around a ton, it's always been Roman Reigns. With that being said, if there's anyone that has ever had Roman Reigns' number in the history of his career, it's Seth Rollins. I don't think Roman Reigns, at least since the Shield broke up, in recent memory, I've never seen Roman Reigns beat Seth Rollins clean. And every time they fought, that has been very much a part of the story. Being a Rollins guy, I'd love to see Rollins win. I do think Roman will probably take it, but
Yeah,
it's one of those that could go either way, and that's what makes it so exciting.
I would agree. Um, would like to see Rollins get a belt, but then again, Roman Reigns, the company guy, huge name. I don't know if I want to see him fight The Rock, but
Yeah,
for now, I'll put that out of my sights and I'll focus on the really good match that's up ahead. Absolute cinema incoming between those guys.
absolutely. We'll have to react next week, see how we did with some of our predictions, see what actually happened, how we feel about it. What kind of riots will ensue on the show if Chad Gable doesn't win.
Oh my goodness. I don't even want
But
to think about it.
following that, we do only have one more viewer question for today after we answered a few earlier about that man on the Sixers. So to end it off for today, from James in Bellingham, what do you think of the Steph Curry to Boston rumors?
Oh boy.
Granted, I wager it's more online media chatter than anything concrete.
Well, so I'll start off by saying, is it mostly online media chatter? I think yes. That being said, I have seen this being floated around. I don't see this happening. I'm not going to go out and say that it couldn't happen, but it doesn't seem likely. The only reason I think it is getting talked about is because of how inactive the Warriors have been in free agency. Obviously, the Warriors have been one of those teams for the last couple of years. They've been like a fringe playoff team. They don't really have the roster to contend for a title, and especially in that stacked Western Conference. And if you're Steph Curry, you're getting up there in years. You've only got a couple left where you're still going to be an offensive engine playing at, close to your peak abilities. Time's running out to get another championship. Time's running out to compete for another championship. Um, I think most of the Steph Curry to Boston rumors are because Steph Curry fans, maybe Curry himself, they're feeling some unease around the current situation between Curry and the Warriors front office. Obviously, they've tried and failed to get people to come there. I know that we talked a little bit last week about them maybe trying to get LeBron. That didn't work. So now they're maybe feeling kind of stuck, feeling like there's no one we can sign that'll keep Steph here, so he's probably going to leave. And wouldn't that be hilarious if he went to the Celtics? I I don't see this happening, especially because the Celtics would have to give up Peyton Pritchard, and they've put a lot of faith and a lot of stock into his development as a player. Obviously Steph Curry is Steph Curry. Not saying that Pritchard wouldn't be a worthy inclusion in a trade for that, but I just don't see it happening with the way the Celtics are constructed, the way that they're trying to, not spend as much money and get under that second apron. Um, Curry obviously sitting on a pretty big contract right now. Would have to restructure that. That would be strange. I don't know how I'd feel about Steph Curry in a Celtics jersey.
Yeah, I do think both you and James and Bellingham hit it right on the head. It does seem like a lot of media chatter from me, a lot of cope from both Boston fans and Steph Curry fans. With that
Yeah,
being said, I could be sold on its legitimacy. In my mind, after they were removed from contention in the LeBron James sweepstakes, the Warriors have made it very clear that they are more so looking towards the future than trying to maximize what they have left of Steph Curry. And that is a shame considering Stephen Curry, it, for my money, is a top 10 basketball player of all time. I don't know that a lot of people will agree with that, especially all of the old heads, but he's a top 10 player of all time. I think that's pretty indisputable in my opinion, the way he changed the game. And I would love to see him come to Boston. I think Paul George would have to be included to make the money match out, truth be told. I think, the trade with the Sixers, if it's not finalized, would have to be altered or whenever I forget when the window starts where, you can't trade somebody after you just like receive them. So I'm not sure how that would work, but I think money wise, Paul George has to be included. And if you told me that we traded Jaylen Brown for Steph Curry instead of Paul George, like if that was the through line, I would feel a lot better. Because the truth is, obviously, Steph Curry is very old. But at the same time, Steph Curry's game is very timeless. The two hallmarks of his game are cardio and chucking that John. That's not something that really goes away. Like
no,
he's
it is
not
not.
relying on his bounce. He's not relying on his crazy athleticism to play defense. He's relying on his cardio to run around the floor and be a pest and shooting that ball from 35 feet, which is something that Steph Curry is never going to lose. So would I like to see it? Absolutely. Steph Curry in a Celtics jersey would be fun.
The
I don't
jersey
think
sales would go through the roof.
there's not a soul on this planet that hates Steph Curry, right? Like I would love to see Steph Curry here, but I don't think it's happening. I do think it's all smoke.
We'll see. We'll see. Crazy things have happened this offseason. I don't know how the NBA world would handle it. Would definitely go down as the most ridiculous and insane NBA offseason of all time if that happens. Just the sheer amount of star power that has moved around the league. Um, never say never. As was that a Justin Bieber song back in the day? Never say
Maybe.
never. For all my believers out there, never say never. Steph Curry in a Boston jersey. All the guys in Sixth Street in the ownership group are thinking about the jersey sales and all the money they make from Steph Curry Celtics jerseys. Like, dude, I might have to cop one of those. I would,
Jeez.
I would pay good money for a Steph Curry Celtics jersey. Like that'd be kind of tough. But
Me too.
James, don't get your hopes up.
Yeah.
Online media chatter is real. The talking heads love to get stuff going on Instagram and be like, "Oh, Steph Curry to the Celtics." Sure, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you hear. I'm not going to quote Justin Bieber. I will instead quote Kevin Garnett and say anything is possible. A little
That's
more
probably
on
better.
brand for us.
Yeah,
But
love it.
unless you have anything else, Brandon, I do think that's going to do it for us.
That's it. That's it for me, man. I've Steph Curry in a Celtics jersey, Les Sixers, Chad Gable title return. What an episode. Lot
What an
going on.
episode.
Go Sox.
Go Sox. So that is going to be all from us then. Make sure to keep submitting questions to the question submission form. You'll find it on our link tree, which is in our YouTube bio and in our Instagram bio. We have a lot of fun with the questions, and they also let us know what you guys want us to be talking about outside of just the individual question. So, like, if we get more basketball questions or more baseball questions or more wrestling questions, obviously we're going to be talking more about that in the episodes just based on what you guys respond. So, it is very important to us, and we do have a lot of fun with them, the
They are
individual
pretty fun.
questions. I know Brandon loves to get questions from his husband. So,
We gotta keep that in 20 keep that in last week.
all right. So I think that's it from us at the Play by Play. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to the Play by Play with Patrick and Brandon. Make sure to check out our Instagram and stay on the lookout for new episodes on YouTube or Spotify.